Hey guys, I'm here on my Linux machine today. I wanted to get a machine running that I could get Vivado up on so I can start doing videos of new and different boards. I was thinking of doing a series covering different boards, different new starter boards, and even some of the boards that are further along. So I figured I'd give you guys a video on how to install Vivado on Linux, and Xilinx just did not do a good job at all explaining how to get past some of the parts, getting an icon up and stuff like that, making it easy to work in the actual environment instead of having to remember all the steps every time you go in. I find that anytime something's hard to do, I'm less likely to do it, so I try to make it easy on myself. So let's get started on this. So the first thing that I want to do is go to the Xilinx website and download the software that you're going to need. I've got a set of instructions that I've started to put together, and I will make this available down below when I finish building it. And there'll be a link in there that goes to the downloads page. Let's go paste and go. It's basically just let's see, downloads. See, Xilinx downloads, right? So Xilinx /downloads, xilinx.com/downloads. So I actually wound up downloading the 2018.3 version. I've worked with that with the OS that I'm working with right now, which is Ubuntu 18.04.4, right? So this setup has worked for me before, so I'm just going to go ahead and recreate that. There's probably no reason whatsoever that you shouldn't download the newest Ubuntu and the newest version of Vivado. There's not much difference in install. The files may be a little bit different located, but you can Google that sort of thing. So what I want to do is go down to the version that I want, which is 2018.3. I'm going to go down and find the web installer, the Webpack and Additions, the self-extracting web installer, and make sure that it's for Linux, right? So there's the Windows and the Linux one. You can download the Windows one. The whole install process is going to be different than what I'm doing. Originally, I actually was running ISE on Linux within my Mac OS on a virtual machine, and it worked great for me. This was a long time ago, though. I had the latest and greatest Mac with the new SSD and all sorts of stuff, and ISE worked really well on that. Moving over to Vivado has been a little bit tough for me. So moving over here is something that I kind of want to show as a product of this whole sort of series of doing boards and stuff like that. I came from the HDL environment, programmed the HDL, the simulator, and move forward. This is a little bit different. You can still do HDL and all that stuff, which we'll show in a later video. So you'll download this guy. I've already downloaded it. It took a little bit of time to download. Not terrible. It's only 112. Then you're going to want to run the actual installer. So to do that, let's minimize this. Of course, you'll have to sign up for an account to do all this stuff, right? And once you're going to have an account anyways, because you're going to need a license, right? So if you've got Vivado, you're going to have to get the license key for it. So once we download it, we're going to find this file. My downloads go to my download folder. So I'm just going to open up a terminal. If you don't have the terminal there, just hit your Windows key or click on this little thing down here, and it'll bring up this search box. Just type in terminal, and I always pin that to the favorites or pin that to my bar over there. So open up your terminal. We're going to navigate to try and find this this file that we just downloaded. So we use ls. That'll show us kind of everything that's in the directory that we're in here. I'm kind of going to go from a point of view that you guys don't know how to work with Linux much. So I use ls or ll. ll shows me all the files, even the hidden ones. I tend to use that more often. So I'm going to use ll, and we'll see I've got a lot of directories in here. The blue, since I'm on Ubuntu, these little blue words are the directories, right? So here's my download, so I can go to that. And when you're typing into this is all case sensitive. It's very strict sort of command line to work with. See, I put downloads, right? CD downloads. All right, so now in our downloads folder, we'll see that we've got that file there. Now we have to make this file runnable. It's a binary, we can run it, but we can't run it as is because it doesn't have the permissions to be able to run it. So what I want to do is do a chmod plus X that adds execution to this file. And then I'm just going to copy this file name here because it's long and ridiculous, and paste it again into it. So what I did was just make that runnable, and you'll be able to tell, at least in this version of Ubuntu or Bash, that it is green, so now it's runnable. Now in order to run that, you just hit // and paste that same thing in again, that same file, and that's going to run that file. Now I did this almost every time I do this. I forget to put sudo in there. So you got to put sudo in there to allow, at the very end, you'll see we'll get to a point where it's going to give you a file path. And it won't allow you to write to the file path that's given if you don't put sudo in there. You can probably put your own file path in there, but when you go look up stuff in forums and on Google and stuff like that, you won't find the correct file paths that they're giving you. So what I'm going to do is exit out of this, and it's not that big a deal at this point because it just started it. And what I'm going to do is put in this same thing, but I'm going to put sudo. Oh, I got weirdness. It's always nice to clear your screen. Terminal acts funny sometimes. So I'm going to clear that. I'm going to put in sudo. Now if you use the up button, you can get back to what you were typing before or what you had typed before. I just went to the front of that and added sudo. Now that's going to allow me to write into that directory, but it's also going to ask me for the password, right? So now we enter our password and it'll start up with permissions to write to the file. So this is the Vivado environment. It's a web installer, so it's actually going to have to download the files. So we're going to give this kind of a, once we get to a certain point, we'll give it a bit of a fast forward, get you guys through that, try to make this video shorter. Just kind of give you the key points. So I don't want to go to the newer version. I'm going to stick with the 2018.3. This is just kind of letting you know that there is a newer version. I'm going to go ahead and just hit continue. And let's see, we've got supported operating systems. Ubuntu's on there, SUSE, CentOS. You can use Red Hat. All these different OSs you can use. And of course, in Ubuntu, there's additional library installation required. So the next thing to do is just hit next. Now we've got to enter our username and password, so I will get that put in here. So now that we've got our username entered, we'll hit next. We just want to download and install at this point. The full image would be if you were wanting to install on a different computer or something like that. So we'll just download and install now. I'm going to go ahead and agree to these. You should probably go through and read these, by the way. All right, then I want to install the Design Edition. The Webpack Edition is probably fine for a lot of you. I like the Design Edition, and I plan to use a lot of parts of that. Then we're going to pick our packages. You're going to need Vivado Design Suite. You're going to need the Software Development Kit. DocNav's nice, but you don't absolutely have to have it. I'm going to download all of the devices and sample devices because I have a lot of room on this server. I wouldn't suggest that. Go through and find whatever device or board or whatever you're working with. Like at work, I'm working with the Xilinx 7000. I would just download that one, unclick all the rest of them. But I'm going to go ahead and download all those. So we'll hit next. Now this is what I was talking about. This tool is Xilinx. If you didn't put in sudo beforehand, this will be red, and when you clicked on next, it wouldn't let you go. I did put it in there, so it's going to let me go. All the rest of these settings are just fine. It says create desktop shortcuts. That's not going to do us any good. For some reason, Xilinx just missed all this. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. It just kind of gives you a review of what all is going on. It's going to require me 60.16 gigabytes. Now that's crazy, I know. But if you're going through and building a VM, and you're going to build all this stuff on a VM, if you're just doing this, keep that in mind. You're going to need 60.16 if you're going to do the full thing. If you plan to add fileName to this, add another 100 to that. So you'll need like 160. I would go with like 200 gigs just to be safe. If you're not doing fileName, then don't worry about it. That's for a later video anyways. So I've got plenty of room on this device because it is a main computer that I'm using. It's one of my old servers. So all these seem fine to me. I'm going to go ahead and click on the install and let it install. And we're going to give it some time, and we'll see you back here in just a little bit once it's done working. All right, welcome back. Went ahead and did the full install. So the installation is complete. We'll hit OK. It brings up the Vivado license manager. With this, it's kind of interesting. You know, you would want to connect now, but it's not going to let you. So what I do is I save the link as. We're going to drop this guy down. I wonder if I can just type in here. No. Home. Let's go up a level. Here we go. We'll go to the just root of the hard drive. Then we're going to go into home. And then we're going to go to our profile and our desktop. And let's save it there. Now it popped up on the side over here. We'll just open that guy up. It should open up a web page for us. It's going to redirect us to the policy pages, sign in. Now I've already picked up a license, but I'll show you guys how to do so. So we're going to go in here. It's going to fill out all our stuff. I masked this because I don't think you guys need my information. You click on next, and we move into the product licensing page. What I do is just go through and select them all because I plan to use a lot of this stuff with a lot of the stuff that I'm doing for me and for you guys. So then you can generate a node lock license like that. And what it's going to do is lock it to this node. And this node is this computer we're looking at right here. So you go through and you select a host. I'm not going to click on this here because you'll see some information that I don't want you to see. So we'll skip to the next step. What I'll do is I'll select a host, then I'll click on next. I'll bring you back. So then it takes you to this review license request page where I've blacked out some of this information here. We'll take it to the next, and it'll create us a license. Congratulations, your new file has been created. Then you can just take and go find that license on here. So you've got, this is my my license here. Then I can go down to the bottom left here. It's like the most hidden thing in the world. Tiny little round download button. Click on that guy, and it'll have you save the file. What you want to do is save this file to somewhere where you can find it. I try to save it onto into a file system on my desktop or something like that. Just somewhere easy where you can find it here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go to save file. And that's going to put it directly into my downloads here. And what I want to do is pick it up out of the downloads. Let's move that out of the way. Move this out of the way for now. Just minimize this. You don't want to have to reopen it, but we will talk about that here in a second. So we'll go to my downloads. And see, we've got the Xilinx license. Now, what I want to do is take this license and put it somewhere where I can find it, as I'd said earlier. For this, I'm just going to put it on the desktop. Close this guy out, and then I'm going to reopen this Vivado license manager. We're going to go to load license, and we're going to copy a license. We're just going to go to the root. We're going to go to home, our folder, our desktop. Click on that license and hit open. The license installation was successful. Hit OK. Then we can close that guy out. Yes. So now we've got Vivado installed, but if you'll notice, it's not on here anywhere. You can't see a link. There's, if I type in Vivado, nothing happens. So to make that easier to open, there's a bit of code here that we can look at. We're going to go to find this settings.sh file in our directory here. This kind of gives me a clue to where it was. I found this online. Obviously, I'm not running 2017.2, but what I can do, I'm just going to go through and get this into my history so that it's easier to come up with or come by. It won't do anything, but now what I can do is cd. I'm going to change to the /op directory. I know that I have that, and there's probably also a /Xilinx directory. Let's try that. No such file, so let's just try the opt directory. Then we're going to do an LL and look for Xilinx. There is no Xilinx there. So since it wasn't there, we'll just do a bit of investigative work. We're going to do back to our very root of the system. We're going to look and see, are there any Xilinx files in here? Now remember, when we first installed this, we actually had a place where it said it was going to install the actual files. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look in Tools, because I think it's in there. Tools. And there is a Xilinx there, so we're going to look at Xilinx. Let's look in there. Okay, so there's Vivado. Let's try Vivado. Look in there. 2018.3, that's our license, or our file. Let's look in there. And look at that, settings 64.sh. So I'm going to go back to that thing that I entered earlier, and I'm going to fill that in there. So the best way to do that, actually, we're going to use this source code thing that we talked about. So I'm going to do pwd. That's going to give us the working directory. So I can copy that right now, and I'm going to paste it right into here. And what I'm going to do is say source that, and then at the very end of it, I'm going to append with a slash the file name for settings 64.sh. And what that's going to do is it's going to immediately source that. So when I hit enter on that, what I can do now is just type Vivado, and it should open right on up. So while it's opening, what we actually really want is a desktop icon, something you can just double click on and bring it up. This is Vivado, but we know that that works. So what we need to do, because we want that to happen every single time we start the application. So now we have this code that we've got that works. We're going to copy this guy, and what we're going to do is add that to our profile. So let's go back to our home directory. You can just type cd enter, and look inside of here with an LL, and you'll see this file called .profile, and then you've also got your bashrc. So let's try putting it in .profile. So I'm going to use nano, and I'm going to type nano.profile. We'll look through this file here, and at the very end, we're going to put this source, and we'll see if that works. So the best way to tell if that works is to restart the computer. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go ahead and restart, and we'll see if it'll run straight off of our restart. All right, so we're back. Let's see if that worked. We're going to run Vivado. And there you go, like magic, it's up and running. So you can get by with just going into your terminal every time and typing Vivado. Not a big deal. But what we really want to do is put some sort of link there on the desktop so that you can get to that easily. So we're going to go and close this down. We know that Vivado works already. We know that that link works. Now let's see if we can't create a desktop link for this. So to get a launcher going for this program, we're going to open up our terminal, and I've already typed this in. We're going to install this app, gnome-panel. We're going to put in our password, and we're going to let that install. Give it a yes. Go through the install process. All right. Now that that's installed, we're just going to have to run this command here. I'll put these commands down below, but this is the command to start a new desktop launcher. So we're going to create a new one. Got to take out that $, because I copied this over. Now it's just going to be an application. The name, we're going to call it Vivado. The command is, as we made earlier, Vivado. And the comment, we're going to call it 2018.3, right? 2018.3 Vivado. All right, click OK. And now we've got Vivado desktop app here. We can change that icon out if we want, but I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to wind up cleaning up my desktop, and that'll be really the only app on there. So let's make sure that this works before we move on. Trust and launch, and we'll see if it works. Hey, there we go. Okay, also, if you want to do the license manager as a link on the desktop, you could do the same thing. I don't think that you'll be needing to access the license manager much, but you might want to do it. And if you do, just kind of do the same thing. Another thing is with the link or the icon, if you wanted to change that, just go down here and change this name, gnome-panel launcher. You can edit that file. It's under your desktop, and just nano into the Vivado desktop file. you can go through and change that stuff so that when you look at it, it actually has ISE on there. So now that we've got Vivado installed, it's time to get on and make some programs. So I actually have a viewer by the name of Jonathan Maravilla, I hope I pronounced that right, who asked for some code. So we're going to do a PWM servo driver pretty soon. I'll be coming up with that over the next week and should hopefully have a video for you guys soon on that. So with that being said, guys, have a great day and don't forget to love well.